I believe that this was a very important seminar for the Council of Europe member states, and a very important seminar because it highlighted issues such as child mental health and child-friendly justice that in many member states are still not a priority on their agendas.
Child-friendly justice is an issue that's, I think, neglected, and I think that it means that a child under 18 must be treated as a child. So whoever's dealing with these young people, be it the police, magistrates, judges, social workers, voluntary sector, must remember that these children are children first. The mental health may not be growing, but I think the concern about it is growing in Europe. And certainly in the UK, we've had a high-level intervention from the Prime Minister and from a high-level report on mental health, which will be debated in Parliament. And I think that young people are saying this is one of the key issues they want to address, is their mental health.
The discussion was very useful. We learned a lot about the different practices that were taking place in regards to child mental health and child justice across the European continent. It was helpful, particularly as well, coming from a background of navigating mental health, but from a very nuanced perspective, being an ethnic minority and having friends that have battled with mental health, and a lot of the time how that intertwines and intersects with the youth justice system. So I think it's been important.
The main concerns for young people today are that they're not really taken into consideration by policymakers when they're actually enacting policy and deciding what to put on the agenda.
The Council of Europe has made already a number of policy documents for member states to support them in making national policies more child-friendly. It's crucial that those guidelines support the states in understanding the importance of the rights of the child and the need for them to participate in the decision-making, and for those views of children to be really taken into account.
In the last few years in Cyprus, we have tried to highlight the issues of child mental health and child-friendly justice using the Council of Europe guidelines. In terms of child mental health, I believe we have made great progress, especially since ratifying the Lanzarote Convention, which highlighted many of the issues for child mental health and child sexual abuse. Child-friendly justice, changes are happening, but we still have a very long way to go, so that every child that comes into contact with the judiciary is treated in a different way. Children are not just young adults, but smaller in size. They have different developmental needs, and emotional needs, and we need to address this.
There were a number of interesting experiences and practices which were underlined as promising practices. One of the most well-known good practices which is being used in member states is what we call the Barna, the Icelandic Children's House model, which is a model for the justice system.
This is the magic, I think, of the Parliamentary Assembly, because we learn from each other. And we can learn from each other by learning best practice that happens in other countries, but they can also learn from countries who are not so far ahead about the real difficulties that exist. And I think that having this combination creates the ability to do what is needed in each country. We cannot always translate what is good for one country immediately in another, because there are basic differences. But what you can do is take best practice and try and enforce it within the cultural realities of each country.
So advice for young people would be to make sure they know their rights on a national and an international level, to speak to their political representatives, make sure they're in touch with them, to help out in their communities where they can, if they see that there's an issue that they need to fix, or they see there's an issue that is socially pressing to them, to make sure that they get involved and create the wheels of change that they feel would be beneficial. I think, and especially to collaborate not just regionally but internationally now. Social media has made it very easy for us to navigate and communicate with other people on the other side of the world. So making sure as young people we're collaborating effectively with other young people, it will definitely mean that young people can impact change.
The Council of Europe Children's Division and the Committee of Ministers have excellent guidelines on both. And I think it is our responsibility as national parliamentarians to take these back to our national parliaments and put it on our agendas.